Hey guys, and welcome. I'm the Honest Mechanic, and today we're going to do something different. Rather than trying to fix something that would be broken, like I normally try and do on my videos, I'm going to review this 2019 A250. Why? Well, because my CLA 250, which is a 2017, is in the shop. So the dealership was kind enough to lend me this vehicle for the long weekend, so I've had it for 3 days now. Got to drive it around. Got to see what I like and what I don't like about it, and I thought if anybody's in the market, this might help. Um, Quick overview of this. We're going to start with the exterior. We'll move our way into the interior, and I'll talk a little bit about the powertrain and the stuff I know about it, and maybe some tech that you might not know about as well. Um, if you're in Canada, you probably would know by now, these cars were not available in Canada for the longest time. These have been available obviously in Europe for years and years now, being a hatchback. And I have to admit, this thing is pretty cool. I really do like it. Um if I was to go straight to the complaints, mind you, it is a hatchback. I'm used to a car, so when it comes to trunk space, well, that's what you get right back there. It's still very roomy, but it's not what I'm used to. Um, Moving on to stuff like, well, let's take a look at the brakes on this thing. The brakes are absolutely massive. I mean, this is a rear brake, obviously, that we're looking at. But let's check this out. Look at the size of that caliper in there. This thing stops really well, as you would imagine. Now, it is set on a 17-inch wheel. Being that it is a loaner vehicle from the dealership, it is not fully equipped. So there are some really cool tech that you still get with this vehicle that I was surprised to see from something that's probably base model, if I had to guess. It is very, very new though. It's only got about 6,000 kilometers, if I remember. But anyways, moving on to stuff like the exterior again. I like the redesign of the headlights. It does look pretty aggressive head on here if you're something that you're looking for. The redesigned headlights, and they are very bright at night as well. The giant Mercedes logo in the middle. And true to my car as well, going back to the brakes real quick, they are dusty. These things being that they are high performance brake systems, they produce quite a bit of brake dust. So you're steady washing your wheels, but the advantage to that is that it does stop really, really well, like I mentioned earlier. So that's what I think about the interior anyways, or sorry, the exterior. One thing that is really nice versus my CLA, the roof line is very flat right across. And what I mean by that is that the passengers in the back, even if you're tall, 6 feet, you'll still fit in there. If you're any taller than, let's say, 5'10", in my CLA, you're hitting your head in the roof line. It's swept back. Kind of neat, very nice and aerodynamic, but not practical for anybody other than, let's say, kids. My kids fit really well in it. But the one thing it does give you is the CLA has a longer wheelbase, and it does give you, like I say, that extra trunk space that would be kind of handy for me, being that we are a family of 4, right? So, speaking of trunk space, let's open up this and see what happens here. Let's see what we have. Oh. There we are. Wasn't standing close enough. So it is, I'm not sure what the dimensions are, but it does have a fair size boot, as they would call it in Europe. Now, it is quite spacious under here as well. If you wanted to store a couple of things, I always carry stuff like a booster pack, booster cables, for example. You know, the odd little thing like that. So that's not too bad at all. I like that. How about we move on to the interior? And this is where I think you guys are going to really like it. Now, they did again do a nice redesign. If you look at the turbine wheels for the vents, I kind of like that. And again, keeping in mind, this is a base model. I'm sure of it. I'm not too certain about too many options that would have came, but based off what I have in my car and this one, this is the lower model. It still does, mind you, come with your 3 memory seats, heated seats in the front on the driver's side, of course. And look at the steering wheel. Now that's full of tech. Let's sit down and see what we get. So if I start it up, obviously we've got our keyless entry. It's telling me that we got the door open. Now the first thing I had noticed when I first got in this thing, I couldn't figure out where the volume was. Well, there's 2 places for the volume. It's either here in the steering wheel. You can press on it to mute as well, which is kind of neat. Press it again, and the other volume is right down here in the middle console. See me then, up and down, press to mute. Now seeing as I'm looking down here on the console, this is a pad which actually controls everything up here. So back down here, it's all touch activated. If you tap on it like a mouse, you're going to enter whatever item you're highlighted on. And it is nice that they've given you this little resting pad here for when you are driving. It feels more comfortable. And there's a couple of features as well on the side. So you've got a couple of quick access buttons to bring you right to what you're looking for. Really, really neat. Going back to this steering wheel, it was overwhelming when I first sat down. I didn't know what I was looking at, but it's pretty easy when you know how it works. Simply put, this side controls this screen, this side controls that screen. Now there are some exceptions, such as your cruise control buttons and of course your volume and calls, but this half, so if I was to do on the thumb screen here in the center, again, this is kind of like that screen in the middle. It's touch sensitive, so whatever I do here with my thumb, again, I can click on it. So if I was to go into the radio, there it is. So that does that screen, and then of course, like I say, this one does that screen. It's nice that they've added the return buttons and the home button so that you don't always have to scroll through all of those screens. There is multiple. I mean, it's quite amazing at what they've done. Now, something that is also very nice is it responds to your voice. They use MBUX in these new models. So if I was to say, for example, "Hi Mercedes,"
how can I help you?
Cancel. You can control stuff like your radio. You can control your air conditioning, your heat. I believe you can even turn on your heated seats. It's not something I've played with very much, but it is a really nice feature. Something else that is really good that I noticed I don't have on my CLA, which is again a 2017, is the actual touch screen. It's nice that you can actually touch and control this, even though you have, well, there's 4 different ways of doing anything in this car. Between your voice, your steering wheel controls, your controls on your pad, and the touch screen, you can, it's whatever you feel like doing, whatever is easiest for you at the time. Really, really nice features. Now, seeing as we're in here and we're looking around, I think that the materials, being that it is a higher grade car, more luxury, is very nice. Everything that you touch tends to be of good quality, nothing sharp. It's got the right finishes. Not crazy about this piano black on here. You can already tell it's all smudgy. Same as around these vent holes. Something that I do have to nitpick about though is the location of the handles. Now, when you're sitting in here and you put your arm on the rest, it's actually not too bad. Now, if you were sitting down and you were trying to get the seat adjusted, well, I find that's not exactly the right spot. but then you're supposed to do that when you're parked anyhow. But now you want to open your window. I find I have to scooch my arm way back in order to get to the controls, and my elbow is actually hitting the back here when I'm actually trying to get to the controls of the windows. I think that should have been moved a little bit more further up. And the other thing I don't like about this particular door handle, because it is so far up, when you're trying to close this door, it's not anything major, but I do find that you have to pull harder because of the location towards the hinge, and it forces you to basically slam the door every time. Again, very small stuff, but if I had to nitpick, those are a couple of things. Now, moving on to stuff like, again, we're going back to the screens here. If I was to go home down here and just touch home, bring it back here, something I found is themes. So if I touch on themes, there is so many things you can change. You can go from, well, you can create your own, as you can tell here. But if I'm on standard right now, for example, but if I was to go to an experience theme, everything changes over here. Really cool, makes it kind of a sporty look. And then you got your performance gauges and everything else in here too. I think it's a really nice thing to have. How does it drive? Well, I think it actually drives really well. Oh, look at that, now the lights are coming on. So we got some lights in here, some down into that cavity over there, lights at your feet, there's lights everywhere, and you can set them for different colors. Really, really cool. Again, going back to the driving, well, I think it drives really nice. This thing is like a go-kart. To be honest, it's super quick, it's agile, it's responsive, and it's actually pretty good on fuel. I mean, I was really impressed. It's right on par with the same fuel economy I have in my own car. And if I had to say, it's probably a little bit more peppy, probably a little bit more refined. I believe it has the 8-speed dual clutch transmission coupled to the 2-liter turbo, which I believe produces about 208 horsepower and 259 foot-pounds of torque. Again, don't quote me on all that information, but that's pretty accurate as far as I can tell. If you guys have any other questions or any comments, leave them in the description, and I'll do the best I can to answer your questions. Thanks for watching.